I think about this a lot, Darren. We've begun, right? We've begun, and thank you, everybody. We've begun. So, Alexander Lorenzo, thank you so much for joining us. And that's a cool picture, right? That's a cool picture. Says, hello again, Adam. Thank you so much. Can you and Darren discuss his theory on shopping freedoms, privileges, and sovereignty? Darren, I think about this a lot, just so you know. Uber, but for your rights. Very interesting. How and where would this work? I tweeted about this. Darren, you sold me on this concept of something, which is shopping, your rights and your privileges, country to country, and region to region, and municipality to municipality.
Right. I would think of it less as shopping. The original coinage of this concept was taboo arbitrage. And that basically arbitraging out the fact that we basically have multiple totalitarian systems. China is a totalitarian system. I think the West has become a totalitarian system. But they are totalitarian systems of a different sort, and they have different taboos and different things that are forbidden. And the idea began simply as the observation that in China, you can't criticize president, you can't criticize Xi, you can't criticize the CCP, you probably can't talk about what happened in Tiananmen Square and so forth. But there are a lot of things that you actually can talk about there that you would get destroyed for talking about in the United States. And it works vice versa. And so it's really just kind of riding this wave that's already, there of multipolarity, this emerging multipolarity in our geopolitical environment, and saying that's actually in many ways a good thing. On one hand, it does represent the diminution of American power and prestige on the world stage, but look at what America actually represents now. And you say, well, maybe that's not altogether a horrible thing. And furthermore, maybe it's not such a bad thing to have someplace, on the planet where you can criticize, tranny drag queen hour without losing your job, where you can criticize all of these things that this entire crazy and evil ideology that's embedded itself into every dominant institution of this country. Maybe it's a good thing that there's some kind of separate independent power center, even a state, even a foreign state, that represents a possible alternative to this system that's emerging, because otherwise you just have a single taboo that's rigidly and severely enforced across the entire globe. And I think we're better off with different taboos, different spheres, so at least we can arbitrage through those things. And this observation theoretically leads to kind of provocative practical possibilities. I had another interview, and a particular segment from that gained considerable notoriety because I half-jokingly suggested that one possible solution to this big tech problem, and just parenthetically, I view big tech, a lot of people like to frame it or think of it as, oh, big tech represents the emergence of private power over and above state power. Really, that's not how it is. The big tech is an extension of our security. And if you don't understand that, you don't understand what big tech is or how we could go about combating it. But leaving that aside, I think one way to get around big tech censorship is simply, what if a country like Russia or even China were to set up a vast server farm and host Americans, people from the West who want to be able to criticize their government and criticize this crazy ideology that's become more severe, more draconian, more totalitarian by the day. And why would they do this? Well, I mean, it involves criticizing our evil system that serves their interests, and increasingly it serves the interests of the American people, who have been designated domestic terrorists by their own government. So
you said something else. You said something else actually as part of that also that you might have forgotten just in this very moment, right? Because it's such an interesting concept. Is there's so much discrimination, or there is increasing discrimination, right? Where we can see kind of the momentum on professionals, on professional. I hate to say rights because that doesn't really sound fair, but let's just use that term because it's convenient, right?
Right.
And it's available. So on professional and particularly highly skilled whites.
Right.
So I think one of your comments at a different point, I don't recall whether it was a Periscope or whether it was just your tweets because I get your notifications, was, China wants these people, which is actually very, very true. And we're now, a person can now also shop while as America has some type of, is going through obviously what it's going through, right? It's a horrible thing. That same person has a greater worth outside working, and I hate to say China, everyone knows how I feel, but working in Russia, working in, Moldova, working in China, working in Africa than they do here. And that's part of the arbitrage of their own value, isn't it?
Right. I mean, I don't know if that's true in every case, but I think it's fair to put it as follows, is that in order to really navigate the situation that we're in, one needs to think of the entire geopolitical space. The entire world is the chessboard now. And if you're not thinking on an international scale and how to leverage multipolarity, which might be one of the few developments that gives rise to genuine opportunities to oppose this evil force that the globalist American empire has become, if one is not attuned to the opportunities that may arise from that development, you're just operating at a disadvantage, because to be limited to what's going on in the United States when every single institution, literally every single institution, is fully captured by this toxic and evil ideology, it's just not a winning proposition. So we need to kind of think more creatively, think more boldly, and that's the only way we're going to have a real chance, is to get a bit creative.
It's a really interesting idea, and it really complements. I've done 2 Periscopes on Bitcoin. I'm actually going to do another one. Milton Demers, best name on Twitter, said something to, and off Twitter, great name, said something that really kind of resonated with me, and I never thought about it as much until that moment, where she said it's kind of, and I think I said this to you before, a person's regaining their sovereignty through that, because they feel it's been so encroached on and so violated.